welcome to the first episode of the Sonic Synergy podcast. This episode solely focuses on the Jakks-specific line of Sonic the Hedgehog figures. This line has been going on for 4-5 years, I think now, if you include the bendy figures. But, of course, I am not joined alone today because I wanted to get some of the best and most knowledgeable people on the Jakks-specific line. So, Coco, could you please introduce yourself without saying anything racism?
Oh, come on, bro. You know I like saying something like that. Anyway, hi, I'm Coco, and I'm the only one here that's cool. Everyone else is stinky.
Great, okay, I'm going to butcher this name, but Curious
George.
That guy.
Kreven.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kreven. I've been casually collecting Sonic merch for about 25 years. More hardcore in the past 10 years. That's what I do. Collect Sonic merch.
That's incredible.
I also have great opinions. Really great opinions. Everyone loves my opinions all the time. And
I'm sure we're going to love your
Bridge? No way.
Luigi the Crab?
Hi, I'm Luigi. I'm a Sonic collector. I like Sonic toys. And I love the Jakks line, but I also collect a lot of other Sonic toys as well. I've been collecting Sonic toys.
Still not asking, is your actual name Luigi? Because if so, that's incredible.
Yes, it is.
Incredible.
Oh, new Knuckles series poster. Anyway, carry on.
Pancake.
Hello. I am Pancake. I collect Jakks figures mostly, but I also like to make my own plushies and figures and whatnot, just because I like doing that stuff. I mean, I don't really run a channel, but I'm planning to start soon properly.
And, of course, we have joining us today, Jakks, not just Jakks specific, but the Sonic merch legend, Sonic Toast.
Greetings, friends. I am Sonic Toast. Let's see, I'm actually a really hardcore Mario fan. I've collected pretty much every Mario game they've ever made, and I like to cosplay as Luigi all the time. No offense to Luigi the Crab here, not trying to step on your toes in any way, but yeah, Sonic's cool too.
All good.
Are you... Jeez. Okay. Wow.
So, I guess this is a great way to start by just what do you think of the Jakks-specific toy line, everyone?
I think it's quite a good line. Best line since Jazzwares. Definitely amazing, and it's easier to get than Jazzwares, which is a massive W in my book.
I'm sorry, what was the problem?
Yeah, I think...
Just what do you think of Jakks-specific
I
currently?
forgot.
Okay.
He's...
Okay, well, I'll be very nice with this. I think Jakks specific is very good in terms of accuracy and design and whatnot. I do think the articulation can be a bit lacking with certain figures and whatnot, especially with like the classic or 2.5-inch figures, which usually have only like 5 or 4 points of articulation, which compared to Jazzwares was never really, amazing by any means. But the accuracy of the figures is just, like always really good, and I think the actual fun of collecting them with different variants and different times and whatnot, it gives a different depth to collecting and makes each collection look more unique, I think.
I think Jazzwares on the Jakks, on the Jazzwares figures.
Jazzwares is definitely good figures. I own like 3 Jazzwares figures. But I think that Jakks is better in terms of variation.
Alright, gotta say, I'm loving all this Jazzwares talk, but that is a topic later on in the podcast, so if we could refrain.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a can of worms, comparing Jakks and Jazzwares, but...
and you said you were the leader of this operation.
Like, honestly with Jakks, I think the best way to talk about it is comparing it to some of the other figure lines, but talking just about like how they are, I think what makes Jakks stand out on model, huge variety. Those are the 2 big things for Jakks. And I do think that being available to a lot of people pretty easily, all things considered, is another,
and the size,
benefit.
The size is better than most of them.
The size too.
It does, they do scale.
I love... Guys, can we just appreciate for a moment the classic Eggman 4-inch?
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Nah, I'll tell you
Praise
what
the
classic
Lord, our
Sonic
Savior.
character we should respect, because realistically, this was so unexpected when it came out. Mecha Sonic. We have not gotten a Mecha Sonic figure up till that
Where's
point.
Mecha Mark II?
I mean, if we're appreciating stuff, if we're appreciating figures just like Jakks has made, sure, Mecha Sonic is a great one. Metal Sonic 3.0 is also wild.
They've
Chaos. I can't sleep on Chaos or Mess. They've done a lot of firsts. They've done a lot of firsts in terms of articulated figures with Omega, for example. So Jakks is again that's that variety. And the bad mix.
Omega?
We are also missing out.
Where's my Zavok figure? Where's my Zavok figure?
No one likes Zavok.
Jakks has not done Zavok. Tomi has, but that's not.
We need a Deadly Six, guys.
No, we don't.
I gotta tell you guys, though,
Okay.
Jakks Pacific is a dream come true. When I was a kid, I clung to those McDonald's Sonic 3 figures because that was all we had. I never would have guessed we would have an Eggmobile playset where you can switch out the pieces to all his different contraptions. A Death Egg robot that actually can fall apart like it does in the game. Just like you said, Mecha Sonic. Like, this is a dream for
How
Sonic.
long ago are we talking?
I do agree that
It's incredible.
I do agree that it does seem like they are making a lot of stuff, which is kind of shocking. Like, I'd never thought we would get a piece of memorabilia of the egg capsule, which was shocking. Even some of the playsets are just really
It's actually funny, not to cut you off, but it's funny you should mention that because you're in the UK. The UK got one of the first pieces of the level clear capsule in the Burger King toys. And it was the only thing we had.
You only
Years and
McDonald's
years.
Sonic toy I own is the 1994 Burger King one. Well, it's not actually McDonald's. It says Burger King for some reason.
Oh, maybe it is. I'm not sure if I said Burger King or McDonald's. One of the two. Some fast food joint in the UK. It's made in Sonic. It's Burger King. Thanks, Luigi. I said McDonald's, but yeah, it's a fast food toy. That was all we had for years.
It's funny you mention the egg capsule because it does want me. It's a good segue to the next topic, which is distribution with these figures. Because I think most of you here are from America. I know there are some people from the UK, but in the UK, Jet the Hawk never came here.
Yeah, it never got released. We still don't have Heavy King or Metal Sonic 3.0.
Well,
A lot of playsets. A lot of playsets never got released.
Super Silver and Tails with the Miles Electric, that came to here, but for some reason Jet just never came and he never has come.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened.
Jakks being Jakks.
where is my Jet the Hawk figure? He better release. He better re-release.
But at the same time, the UK did get Mephiles earlier than the US.
No, I don't even have
Well,
it.
that's the thing. A lot of these different countries, it's hard to say any of this because I don't think almost anyone except Jakks themselves are really experts on how and why they release what they do, where they do. Because we've seen Canada get stuff early, we've seen the UK get stuff early. The movie stuff leaked in places like United Arab Nations early. There's so many weird intricacies when you're talking about these
And even then,
international
Mike,
releases.
he didn't even know that Jet didn't get a UK release until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
If a Jakks Zavok figure gets leaked in Equatorial Guinea or something, I swear.
That is fair, but because the UK does get stuff fairly late, but it did get Infinite early. It did get the first wave of Prime early, so it does get some products first. Even though most of the time it's annoying because most of the waves don't come out, but there are some odd frequencies where we do get stuff early.
I mean, I think the only problem with the UK getting stuff early is that, UK gets stuff early, all the fans are rushing to get it, and by the time it comes out in the US, UK is basically already drained of all the figures they got released, and then you have to wait till it restocks, which then again leaves another wait. It's because since I think all the merch is just so scarce, all the rare pieces, characters, Mephiles, right? To an extent, even let's say Sonics from Sonic Prime I have seen missing, just not there, despite seeing a million nines and whatnot. It's just a lot of people just get what they really want, and then the stores don't restock it because for every wave they get 3 Sonics.
Wait, you seriously haven't found a Prime Sonic? I've found tons.
I've seen them. I've just purposely avoided them because I don't see them as like amazing by any means.
Why are they 5-inch actually? Why aren't they not like 4?
That's another topic.
Yeah, that's another topic.
Oh yeah, the last topic. Okay, my fault.
Right, it's spelling everything. Right.
Because
Basically, my point is, you like methalists and scalpers and whatnot. They get like these rare figures early, right? Resell them for high prices, and then the cycle keeps repeating until the value keeps going up and up. And this is a problem in like the UK specifically. I've seen a Grim Sonic which came out.
True with how the resellers and the scalpers, because it's usually no more than a few weeks. These are people who are either, one, they're inside at Target and they're getting the stuff early, usually it's Target, especially here in the US, or they religiously check it. I used to do that like last year. Every day I was checking multiple Targets trying to find stuff early. I got burnt out doing it, but I was able to get most of the figures very early when the scalpers are selling them for, $90 to $100. And people are all, wow, I can't believe Mephiles is $100. I can't believe that Blaze is $100. Every time the new figure comes out, everyone sees that first thing on eBay and collectively says, wow, I can't believe it's $100. These people are crazy. But at some point you have to understand, it's just this cycle that we've been seeing. When they first come out, people are reselling them for $100 because there are people who are desperate to get those as quick as possible to make their little video or whatever. And then they've got the clout. They have the clout for saying they got the Blaze the Cat figure before some people. But those prices go down over the next few months. They steadily go down until they reach around a $20 to $30 price tag. And again, that's on eBay, which is high for $10.
Usually the case for a lot of figures, but there are some like exceptions. For example, I'm going to use Omega. I don't know if that's a problem in the US, but in the UK, if you want to buy a resold Omega, not even packaged, it usually costs like 60 or so.
Yeah, but you're talking about a 2-year-old figure.
True that. True.
It's ironic you say that because there was an Omega in my B&M today.
Oh, lucky.
So
you are right about Omega. Like, there's a time where Metal Sonic himself was selling for anywhere from $50 to $60 here until he got a re-release. Because these figures
actually we're even seeing it with like Johnny at 9.
Exactly, Army at 9. Because 9 is almost a year old. It's not already a year old.
I wanted to get another Eggman, but they're very expensive because he hasn't had the re-release in a while. But obviously,
that's true. I've seen the Bendy Eggman go for really cheap though. I think.
Scalpers do.
That's also your problem. There is demand because the Bendies they could be really cheap. Or you have the sports Bendies, which didn't have a huge release, and so they can sell anywhere from $30 to $40, if not more. And it's just again the demand for it. Yeah, most people are collecting the 4-inch, the 2.5-inch line.
I do think
the figures they first come out, they're high, they dip down, and then as time goes on, they start going back up again. It's what you'd expect as something is rare, more accessible, and then rare.
I do think some figures like that get lots of releases. Like obviously, I've seen plenty of 2.5-inch Rouges get really released for literally no reason.
Exactly.
Those become more common compared to the 4-inch, which like 4-inch Rouge got like one release ever. And that obviously makes everything so much more frustrating because most modern figures get collected in like 4-inch scales and whatnot.
Yeah.
And basically,
specify for this with release talk.
Yeah.
When you're talking about releases, you're focusing on like the waves that they're being released in. Yeah. A lot of waves have like redistributions. There's no like official terminology for it. But Kohl's, for example, before getting Infinite and Cream, they were getting a pretty consistent stock of the Rouge wave. And this was well after that wave had been gone. So Rouge isn't as demanded because she had a pretty wide release outside of just showing up at Target, like Super Shadow. And that's why Omega, while it's expensive, he's not bad. Exactly, I was just going to mention it. Go for it, Luigi.
Consistent stock of the Rouge wave.
Yep. And that was the other big one here in the US, at least. Walmart coming in, for the earlier waves, Walmart was not there. It wasn't until really the neon wave was the first one that was really big at Walmart, but some of the waves prior to that did get Walmart stock. Yeah. It was that neon one, and that's why, I mean, other than people not liking the neons, it's why almost every wave since then, you're not going to see too many, again, in the US, super expensive figures. Now, UK, Canada, you got other things going on there because they're not widely released. You're having some characters like Jet the Hawk just not getting a release. Early on, I know no one here's from Canada, but I have some collecting friends in Canada, and they would talk about how when they would get some waves, it would just be missing one of the characters in the wave, like how the UK is suffering with Jet.
That kind of sucks.
Yes.
Do you know what characters that they never really got?
It's been a while since I've spoken to any of them about it, but I know for like, I can't remember honestly. But especially in like 2.5, I think
the same thing really happens in the UK. For obviously this with Jet, right? Sure, that's clear. But I do remember like struggling to find a lot of figures beforehand that just don't really get wide releases, which is very unfortunate.
Speaking of stuff like that, I think it's crucial to just put out there the fact that in the UK, and I think this is in other countries, but don't take my word on that, the check lane line just doesn't exist. Which means any exclusive characters like the Easter, Christmas, and that recent Egg Robo just never came out here. And even Rhinobot would be hard to get, even though he is in a diorama set, which you can get. He isn't like readily available in just a quick £5 to get him. The check lane line.
To clarify the check lane line real quick, even though the Easter and the Christmas figures are in the check lane type packaging, they're not sold the same way here. Instead of being at like Walmart check lanes, they were put in the Target seasonal section or just thrown somewhere in the Sonic section at Target. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, Canada also doesn't get those. A lot of countries are not getting those. Those seem to be almost US exclusive at this point. And so a lot of people are looking for those. But with like you said, with the check lane, at least most of those are like re-releases of some sort, except Egg Robo right now, which not a lot of people are finding anyway.
I'm sure Egg Robo will get re-released anyway. But like, did they happen?
Wait, hold on. You don't have Egg Robo?
No, the
Not a lot of people do.
Egg Robo.
Yeah.
I have Egg Robo. Sick. So cool.
Funnily enough, my 4-inch Egg Robo should actually be arriving today.
Arriving? Where did you get it from?
A bit sidetracked. Maybe go back up topic.
Alright, you know what? I think that's a good time to start a new topic. And this isn't the third one on the list. This is just a quick sidetrack I want to do. Do you think Jakks has too many lines? Like, there's the 4-inch, the 5-inch Prime, the movie, the check lanes, the Ultimate figures, the playsets. Is there, like, too much?
I guess kind of, yeah. I mean, if they did it individually, it could work. But I think it's, like, I think it's better they have multiple lines going to make the most money they can. Because obviously people want to get them while they're still here, which is a better marketing strategy, I think.
Well, what my issue says, I don't think they have too many going on because a lot of them they're not very prevalent. Like 4-inch and 2.5, those are very consistent. They're releasing new waves almost every 3 months. That's fine. The check lane's just a supplement of the 2.5-inch. Then you have your dioramas, your play sets, the battle sets. With those, they're releasing like one a year. Same with the collector's figure. And again, it's consistent.
I'm not even sure if there was a playset release last year.
There was. It was the start of the Speedway playset.
Which one is it this year? Isn't it like Flying Battery? Is it?
Oh no, it was the year before start of Speedway.
So what about this year? What are we getting this year?
Then Flying Battery, then start of Speedway. This year, it's not been officially announced what it is. But we have.
I know the Prime set's got some dioramas as well. I know Dread got his own ship as well.
Right.
So
and see, that was the Prime line. The Prime line's like in addition to the main line, just like the movie line was. And you didn't see movie 2 and Prime actively getting new stuff at the same time. And even now, with movie 3 coming out, we can assume based on what we've been seeing, that Prime's going to come to an end here, be wrapped up with this Wave 4 that's being released just in time for...
What's Wave 4?
I know. Wave 4 for the 5-inch is Baton Rouge, Renegade, Ducks.
Yeah. Grim Sonic, which I got, Grim Sonic, Sonic Trooper, which I actually got here as well.
It's a re-release of New York City Sonic for the Sonic, which is pretty disappointing. Like, how hard was it to give him the pirate shoes and the pirate gloves? Like,
I know, right?
It's unknown, exactly.
Yeah.
It was. And not only that, like, we had some of those leaks from GameStop's, system when you would be able to, like, pre-order stuff, saying that there's going to be a Knuckles the Dread figure, and everyone's super excited for that 5-inch, and then they show off gnarly Knuckles. That was a big disappointment for a lot of people, too.
And then even in, like, the Wave 4,
shocked that we never got the Booker. So, also, I don't think there's enough rouges in the line. Like, I get it, but...
I don't think there's any actual,
like, as in the normal Prime Rouge. I mean, the normal one. The one with
there's no normal Prime characters aside from Shadow. What do you mean?
I'm on about... I'm on about the variations of her in the Paradox Prison. I mean...
Yeah, you're talking about the normal one, the one that before the Paradox. There's the figure of that.
Green Hill Rouge. And that's the thing, like, everyone wanted a figure of Green Hill Rouge for sure, but you have to think about it from, like, a marketability standpoint. Like, are you really going to be focusing on Rouge's new outfit, or are you going to do the Pirate Rouge that you can package with all the pirate sets? Now, I have many opinions and things on what Jakks could have done with Prime, but it was almost doomed from the start just because of the sheer amount of characters. There's no way they could have done it perfectly with only 4 2.5-inch playsets or multi-packs.
Yeah, I do think if they focused more on one specific area instead of splitting out too much and, like, keeping, like, let's say all 3 Amy's, right? Yeah. We have all 3 Amy's to work with, but that doesn't mean much if you can't complete a setup. Like, if you want to get the whole New York setup, you cannot get a Rouge to finish your New York setup. There's nothing to finish it with. Like, you might have Knuckles now. You might have 9. You might have the Eggman, right? The Mr. Dr. Eggman. The rest of the Egg Council.
That's a completely different scale, right? So
yeah,
you have
it's
5-inch Eggman, but you don't have all of those other characters in 5-action thing you do.
That's not the like thing. The budget for Prime Wave was very, very cluttered in the wrong ways, which is unfortunate because they were really nice and detailed for the figures they were. It's just unfortunate that
the only thing they could have done was, like you said, focus one single, like, shatter space worth of characters, but that would have isolated everything else and kind of conflicted with the whole thing that Prime has all these different shatter verses with all these different designs, so your variety is going to be killed.
Realistically,
I think something that really affected the Prime line, like something that really affected was the fact that there was no accessories. I mean, Baton Rouge and Fawn Rose did have accessories, but, like, if they gave a sword to Baton Rouge, why didn't Black Rose have one? Why didn't they all have accessories?
Well, now you're asking Jakks questions. You can't question it because it makes no sense half the time, and that's the joy. Sometimes, they surprise you, like, why would you do this? And then they give you something really interesting. It's like, well, you didn't have to do Metal Sonic 3.0. But trying to question Jakks is extremely hard to do because there's no consistency. But even with accessories, what accessories could they realistically have given the 5-inch figures to make them that much better?
Well, something that I would have loved is, like, if they had pieces of the Paradox Prism that was all magnetic. Like,
that's 5-inch. They were successful with Paradox Prism pieces.
Do that?
They did.
And, what they did, they gave us the Paradox Prism pieces in the 2.5-inch line. They're not magnetic, but that's very expensive to do. But they connect in some way, shape, or form, even if the yellow one sucks. But
besides, you gotta understand, with the 5-inch line specifically, these are very articulated figures. Like, I can, like, say for a fact, there's a lot more articulation on these than any of the 4-inch figures had, even compared to, like, let's say the likes of Metal Sonic or Chaos, who were up to this point pretty they were very articulated 4-inch figures, right? I do think the Prime, in terms of articulation and design and everything, really blows out the water, but at the cost of being 1 inch higher, which, again, kind of messes with the continuity of the figures, which is unfortunate.
But was there ever any sort of continuity with them? Because you have, like, some of the early stuff. ignoring the fact that within the
think about
first
it this way. Think about it this way.
Scale.
When they made
When
they made the movie line, they made it scale. So
no, it doesn't scale though. If you look at 4-inch movies,
they offer
4-inch movie, it's 4 inches, but it's like a short 4 inches. They don't scale. They don't look like they belong with the other ones. But yeah, sure, they're both 4 inches, but it's not. They don't look. They don't look like they scale. So that's why the problem with the Prime ones is that they don't scale, but neither do the other ones really. Like the modern stuff scales with modern, the classic scales with classic for the most part. But even then, Jakks clearly doesn't care about scale, and they don't need to. They're going for this variety, and they're going for affordability. And that's why characters like Big and Omega may be slightly bigger than your 4-inch, but they're still not going to tower over them and be $15, $30.
I mean,
it's a tragedy, though, that we did not get a Prime Big. Because a Prime Big in that 5-inch scale would have been amazing to go with the regular figures.
Can you imagine if they did like 5-inch, like a Prime Big, and they made his accessory one of the Prime variations of Froggy?
Could you imagine?
Variation of Froggy.
That's the thing. A lot of people have their head in the clouds when they talk about like Jakks accessories. When they say like 4-inch Big should have come with Froggy, but should he have? Because like Froggy, more likely than not, if Jakks were to do a Froggy, he's going to come out in the 2.5-inch check lane with like a ring or something. And he's going to have articulation. Wouldn't that be so much better than just
probably going to come with like
bust?
Yeah, he's probably going to come with like a few like rings and whatnot. Yeah. But to be fair, they already did technically release a Froggy in those Prime like little blind bags and the big boxes.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys have seen those. Those are pretty
it's
small.
by PMI, different company, but yeah, they're still very nice. To have in, but we don't have a Jakks Big to go with.
Oh yeah, well my bad. But basically, we have seen other Froggies within Prime, so it's like if they released a Prime Big,
well, a Froggy, but yeah,
I don't think he would have needed a Froggy depending on what big it was.
I don't think he would have needed it because Froggy is, as much as he's cool and all, he's not like necessary. I think Jakks could have released a Big without a Froggy for the Prime line.
I mean, like, yeah, and obviously a Big coming with, like, a Froggy would have just been... I don't think it would have had a chance of fitting in the Prime box. But there is one character who I think that definitely should have come with, like, something else. And it was just, like... I understand that Cream is obviously meant to be a small character, but, like, when you're comparing paying the same price for Cream that you would be paying for a character like Big and Omega and Vector... It's a bit more like maybe Cream should have come with something else other than ice cream, you know?
I think it's fair to say, but the thing with that would be you can say, can you really justify paying for Big for the same price as paying for modern Sonic? Because Big is bigger, so shouldn't you have to pay more? So I think it's a trade-off there. You're going to pay the same price for a slightly bigger figure and the same price for a slightly smaller figure, and it's just going to kind of work out.
I think that's mostly what it is as well, but you've got to remember they don't really have to scale much past the figure, but when it comes to the main line, they want to make it as accurate as possible, right? Obviously we have Cream, but at the same time we also have characters like the 4-inch classic characters which don't make much sense. They are much smaller than the modern figures, but yet you still pay the exact same amount. If you're going to use that argument, which
they're much smaller. I think the 4-inch classics are pretty thick, all things considered. Like they have very bulbous heads. They're very round. Should have maybe like a little stubbier, but I think you're getting the same amount of plastic in both of those.
Guys, just quickly talking about the classic figures, like. I've seen people saying that obviously they don't scale at all with the modern line, but the thing is, like they have got separate packagings, so Jakks probably does intend them to be like separated, but like not really separated. Like they're in the same. Like this is the 4-inch line, but they are still like different versions of the 4-inch line, even though they are in the same, like...
I get the desire for people to want their figures to scale. I want the figures to scale. I want my bigs to be big. I want my creams to be small. But the problem with scaling is Jakks started off within the first 2 waves releasing an Eggman that is incredibly smaller than he should be when compared to a 4-inch Sonic. So already, you're starting off your entire line with things not really scaling. And that's, I mean, look at Amy. Amy's taller than Sonic. And then you have Tails, and yeah, he's a little bit shorter, but not short enough, really, with these technical scalings. At the end of the day, Jakks doesn't really care about the scaling, and they don't need to. It's like it's kind of there when they can, but I don't think it's a huge main focus. They'll make the bigs as big as they can,
to be honest,
and so on.
I don't think scaling is that important. I mean, it has to be 4-inch, at least 4-inch, because that's what you're advertising it as.
Well, unless it's cream, then you want it to be smaller.
I mean, yeah, I guess. You could just make a 2.5-inch cream with a ice cream or something and be on your way.
But the problem is your 2.5-inch cream is not to scale with a 4-inch Sonic, because cream is not like half the size of Sonic. So 3 inches is what you have to do.
Use the same argument with Tails as well. Like, if you want your cream to be smaller, we know cream and Tails are very similar sizes from, like, let's say Sonic X, for example. I know it's not canon or anything, but they've given pretty consistent sizes, right? They've been very similar sizes the entire time through. Like, Shore Cream was a bit shorter, but I don't think she deserves like a 2.5-inch compared to a 4-inch.
Exactly.
It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense.
So
I would point
I
to,
think
as
we
weird as it is, I would point to... Go ahead.
Okay, I think we can't actually blame Jakks for this sizing up issue, because if you look at World and Nintendo, where they first started with these style of figures, they started with a very large Bowser and Donkey Kong, who were meant to scale with the 4-inch figures, right? And they ended up with piles and piles in excess of these Donkey Kongs, Metroids, Ganondorfs that nobody was buying. And I believe it was the retailers who did not want them. So Jakks said, okay, we have to stick with what is selling, the 4-inch line, the 2.5-inch line. They discontinued trying to, make bigger figures to make them scale with the other ones, right? And now today, we even have a 4-inch Donkey Kong who does not scale with anybody in all of World Nintendo or Mario or Sonic or anything. But that's what they have to do, because that's the only way new collectors are going to get the Donkey Kong, right?
Yeah.
You're completely right, because that was like one of the big things. There was a Q&A a year or two ago where someone was talking about like getting these figures bigger, and somebody on the Jakks or Sonic side specifically said, we want to keep these figures as close to the $10 price tag as possible. And I think it goes directly into what you're saying, where once you start getting those bigger figures and you're selling them for $20 to $30 for this giant chunk of plastic, a lot of people aren't just going to the store to just pick that up casually. But they'll have to pick up a $5 or $10 figure.
Not just money on like the price tag on the actual figures, but the cost to make them.
I mean, it's the same real reason we barely have like a lot of dioramas, right? We tend to like not get a lot of dioramas purely because they aren't really affordable. They are more of big sets you'd get for like a kid, or like just if you were looking for it. Not exactly casually. You might run into it casually and buy it, right? But it's not like they've been made for the intention of like, oh, this is cheap, I might pick it up, or like it's unique. It's a big also kind of investment almost into these lines, right?
Yeah, that's why they're more scarce. That's why they come out once per year. It gives it enough time to kind of get off those shelves. And even then, you very frequently will see the Eggmobile, the Death Egg robot, the Death Egg itself, going on clearance for under $10. And still sitting there. Like, I know
because
people who
and now we're getting them in our discount stores too.
Yes, like Ross getting the
Death Egg Eggmobile set. It's down to $4 over there.
Yep.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, in the UK, clearance basically means like £3 cheaper and then nothing else, or else it's just going to sit there till the end of time.
That's usually what it means here.
I'm still waiting for my Death Egg robot to go down a bit more before I want to buy it, but like they're taking so long. It still hasn't gone on clearance. It's been years. It's still sitting there.
I have a Death Egg robot and it's broken. Like, it's never going.
I could buy one at any time. I just choose to avoid that until it gets cheaper because I have money to save on.
That's what I do with all the.
It's been £30 for like 20 years or something.
It's the same reason. It's the same reason I have.
My Death Egg robot's completely fine, but the only issue it has is that when it kind of gets hit in the section, it falls apart straight away. It no longer cycles between the the damaged, slightly damaged, and then broken. It just goes straight.
There's probably something wrong with your Death Egg, because that didn't happen with mine. I think.
I mean, it's similar reasons that I still haven't gotten any of like the dioramas, for example. Like I could go and maybe pick up Studio Paulus because it looks nice, but if it's not something that exactly appeals to me or it's too expensive for like what I'm seeing, it's not like everyone will want to buy it, right? I buy the figures mostly to like display or to collect or whatever. Well, I do care about articulation for stop motion or whatnot, right? It's not like buying them is specifically for everyone to be articulated either. That's why accuracy is also an important piece of media. That's like, for example, when the Green Hill Zone set came out a while back, a lot of people bought it because it looked nice, right? If you got like a huge hunk of green plastic and just shoved it in a box to make it look somewhat okay, it wouldn't be anywhere near as appealing. So obviously, the price tag, while is amazing for the figures and things we've been getting, especially considering, like, let's say modern Sonic, for example, he looks immaculate compared to like the old Jazzwares one we used to get. It does like matter. You can't entirely blame Jakks for a lot of things because they're trying their best, all things considered. It's not like they don't care. They do really much care.
Yeah, clearly. But they have to balance, because the thing is, most toy lines for children are made for children. But it is very clear that Jakks Pacific is doing almost everything in their power to also cater towards collectors. Whether those collectors are 13 or 30, they are catering to collectors, and that is apparent. Maybe not 100%, because they still have to sell all the extra stuff. Think about your stores. Each case is coming with 3 to 7 Sonics. It's a lot, depending on what year it is. And they sell. Sure, some of them sit on the shelves, but they do eventually sell because there are kids out there that are supporting this line. And if it were just collectors, I don't think we would have been enough to keep the line alive off of what we're getting.
You have to kind of remember, they're doing this interest for a general audience and not just collectors. Because, like, as I think that many of you know, whenever they case in, like, a new wave, it's like multiple Sonics, like one of each new figure. Because you're not going to, like, there's some, like, I don't know, 10-year-old kids not going to look at a Jet the Hawk figure, using him as an example, and a Sonic figure, and be like,
I mean, it's the same reason. Like, a lot of people complain about this issue as well, because they're like, you know how everyone complains, oh yeah, there's too many Sonics, there's too many Knuckles, there's too many Tails, right? But keep in mind, without those re-releases, we'd have like, what, 1 or 2 Tails, or like 1 or 2 Knuckles. And sure, while Sonic does get re-released a lot, they try to balance it with Classic Sonic and Classic Super Sonic, and Super Sonic in general. It's not like they're releasing the same old stuff over and over again. Sure, they're releasing it enough to be consistent, but obviously since there's like kids and new collectors and whatnot, it frustrates a lot of people, but it's a lot more understandable why they do it. It isn't out of like laziness or anything.
You brought up that critique, and I think I understand. Like, you have a great response to it. But another piece that you have that's related to that are people who are annoyed that they do only release 1 or 2 figures per wave, one or 2 new figures per wave, and even then you don't see them come back. Like, how many of the 1 figure per wave since like wave 4 or 5 have actually come back? It's been like Amy one time. Ray, I think, was another one. But other than that, you're not seeing too many of them come back. And I get that complaint, but also, if it weren't for that setup that Jakks has, where they don't really bring these old characters back, if it weren't for that, I don't think we'd get as many of these awesome figures as we have. Metal Sonic 3.0, Infinite, Cream, Mephiles, Chaos, Big, like, well, maybe Big. You're not going to see those if it weren't for the fact that you haven't seen Omega since 2 years ago.
If I'm right, I think Mighty got a re-release, I think. But I might be confusing him with...
Who did?
Yeah, he got a re-release, I think.
Who did? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I think Mighty, the Armadillo.
Yeah, it was Mighty, not Ray. It was Mighty, not Ray. I said Ray. You're right, it was Mighty.
Yeah.
Now, the frustrating thing, though, is when there's so many Sonics that clog up the shelves, the retailers, they say, oh, we have plenty of Sonic toys out, we're not going to put out new boxes. So,
yeah,
like,
that is true.
There's 20 Sonics on the shelf, and you can't find anyone else. You have to wait weeks and weeks for those Sonics to clear out before they put out, other characters.
That's true, but that's also
You're right.
mostly the retailers' fault themselves because of the fact that Sonic is like the main show, right? Obviously, I've spoken about this before. There's been there's 3 Sonics and 3 of the other unique, not 3 of them, like the other 3
One
are
of
basically
each of the
the
other
unique
3.
characters. Yeah, one of each. And because of that, obviously, it's their own fault why Sonic doesn't sell out. Like, sure, I understand that mindset, but wouldn't it just be better to like get 2 Sonics and then 2 of all like of the characters, for example?
The problem is it was more of an issue last year. See, at the beginning of last year is when it actually finally started to change. But prior to that, it was more than just 3 Sonics per wave. I think the case sizes were larger. Right now, they're sitting at 6 figures per case, but they were closer to 8 before. So you'd have like I think it was 3 Sonics or 4 Sonics, 2 of the re-release character, and then 1 of each of the new ones, and that was like your set of 8. But then during I believe it was either Bigger Chaos Wave or I think it was Bigger Chaos, maybe one right before, where they upped the amount of Sonics per case to 7. They upped it to 7 Sonics, and then 1 of each of the other characters. Other cases were slightly smaller and had, I think it was a case of 8, so it was, 3 or 4, I don't know, I'm not doing the math right now, but that was the worst point that we had, and there were so many Sonics on the shelf. But the thing is, Jakks learned that. So with the Jet and Super Silver Wave, you would actually see here, especially in the US, that some cases started that 3 Sonics, 1 of each of the other 3, but there were also some cases that still had those 7 classic Sonics. So we're coming off of that, and now more consistently, it's 3 and 3. 3 Sonics, 3, 1 of each of the others. And I do think that's a healthy balance. I think I don't know if the problem is the retailers, because like what else do? You suggested doing 2 Sonics and 2 of each of the rest, but then you're going to have weird characters sitting on the shelves. And while that can be nice, like I said before, I don't think collectors can really keep the line alive. So I think one of the necessary evils that we have is an overabundance of Sonic. The alternative is not continuing. I don't know, because how can you balance that?
Yeah, that is true. I do think they could have done something more like give Sonic himself more variety. Like, we still haven't yet to see a Soap Shoes Sonic or like basically any of the older Sonics, and we have these old characters come back.
An SA1 Sonic with all the accessories and that.
Basically like I get why Sonic is a necessary evil, sure, but I think what a lot of people just don't get why Jakks hasn't done this yet. We have gotten Super Sonic, we have gotten Classic Sonic or whatnot, sure. I'll admit that we have, but we haven't gotten things like, let's say, Sonic from like Black Knight. We've got 06 Mephiles, right? So what's stopping them from going back into old Sonic and grabbing things from old Sonic?
Like irrelevant.
I think that's one critique that is absolutely valid of Jakks, that they can do more with their re-releases. I think Tails was in the Jet and Super Silver Wave was amazing. Just give him the Miles Electric, and that's worth buying again. I know so many people who only buy one of each character that go after them just for that alone.
It's also different as well, because the regular Tails before that had those basic tails, but the ones with the Miles Electric has mini tails, right? There's a bit of variety.
Yeah, there's a different variety of collectors out there too. There's some collectors who go after one of each character. There's some collectors who go after one of each of these variants, like, oh, this Tails has swirly tails, this one has normal tails. And then there's other ones where it's like, this Sonic has the angry face, this one's smiling, but this smile is slightly more wide than the other, and there's a consistent release of them. And like Omega, right? There was some releases where he had complete black on the plates behind his eyes, and one where it was more of that lighter gray color. And then there are collectors who just get everything. So when you're talking about like Tales of the Miles Electric, he would normally just appeal to a collector who's like, oh yeah, this Tails has 2 open hands instead of 1 open hand. But because of the accessory that he comes with, he's going to appeal to so many more different types of collectors alone. Even if you're just ignoring the child aspect here, the collector market is going to be much more invested in getting that Tails specifically because of that character-specific accessory. And so you mentioned stuff like Soap Shoe Sonic, Black Knight Sonic. Those things would work really well because it covers your Sonic base, and then collectors might want to go after those too just because of who they are. Also, secret ring Sonic with a little flame on his chest and a ring on his finger would be awesome.
Yes, I've wanted that for years.
So, is everyone alright? Is everyone alright if we go over to the next topic?
What's that?
It's like
So what does you all think about like the longevity of Jakks? Because the Mario line / World of Nintendo has been going on for ages, and it's kind of like, do you think Jakks will just be like the co-current toy partner for Sonic the Hedgehog, or do you think there's a chance that they will just lose the license and it'll go to another toy company and it'll kind of just like start over almost?
Okay.
It depends. Like, if they're...
I don't think it depends at all, to be honest. Listen,
I mean,
while there
like,
is a lot of critiques of Jakks, and in general from fans and whatnot,
if Sega thinks
No
that
one's-
they're doing well selling,
Yeah.
then they might keep them
no
on.
one really thinks that Jakks is a bad line. Take Tomy, for example. The plushies were doing amazing, but the figures weren't doing well at all, right?
That's ironic. I have a Tommy Sonic figure in my hand.
Tommy's a whole podcast in its own right. But
Yeah, but like,
it's not just like, will Sega keep
I mean,
it around
Tommy
all the
was
time?
like the first
You
one
have to
I
also
even
remember,
got, really.
if I recall correctly, Jazzwares wasn't dropped by Sonic or Sega or whatever. Jazzwares chose to leave. Luigi, if you know more
Oh,
of
they
that.
must have already had Sonic.
That's really weird that
Wait,
they would
what was that?
just leave.
I'm saying that they're talking about Jakks ending and like what's longevity like, and I'm saying I think it's a little bit more than just will Sega keep Jakks on, or is this something like with Jazzwares where, if I was recalling correctly, Jazzwares chose to end the partnership with Sonic.
Jazzwares was the one who chose to end it and focus.
And we know how well those were doing. So I think when you're looking at this longevity, there's so many things going on like a corporate level that us going to the stores buying toys aren't really involved in. So it's hard to say. The way it looks right now, I mean, they're making more figures than ever, more variety than ever. Fans love it. Like, Jakks has trumped any other line in the hearts of most fans. It used to be Jazzers tossed to the side. It used to be everything, and they're all getting tossed aside because of Jakks' variety, quality, and distribution. So,
like I said, a lot of people, while the articulation is slightly worse than Jazzwares, sure, Jazzwares looks a lot worse physically than Jakks ever did. With Jakks figures, you can like
Also, the
you can look
quality
at
of
them.
the figures.
Yeah, but you can like look at them, right? And then you're like, wow, this looks so nice. It feels like I'm looking at the actual kind of Sonic or like the actual Tails.
Sonic straight
They all
from the game,
look really, really good.
they're on
No,
model.
I don't know.
Again, that's something I love about some of the older lines is I love the charm of them being more unique. But what Jakks excels at is the fact that they are the most on model. We can criticize Jazzwares all day, but they were the precedent that was set for a Sonic toy line. That was the standard you were going off of. You knew Jakks made it once you compared them to Jazzwares and said they have more figures than Jazzwares. That's what you're going off of. So we can't bring Jazzwares down too much just because Jakks has more characters, because Jazzwares
obviously
lost
not.
that.
Like, I still think Jazzwares is amazing for what was released at the time. I do still compliment the fact that, you know, I still think their articulation is a lot better than what we have now. Even with the
There's
prime
a
wave,
trade-off, right? Because you hear people talking
Obviously,
about, like, first
yeah,
of all,
there's
they're ugly
always the trade-off.
joints, and they're falling apart, because when you go to have that much articulation, there's going to be some sacrifice made to the on model. I think some of the best looking like articulated figures you can get for Sonic would be Bendy's, because they keep those noodle limbs. But obviously Bendy's have their own share of problems. So
Bendy's kind of
Jakks does the best they can with all having
There is,
as much articulated
there is a
possible
lot of problem.
looking good.
But also, you know,
Bendy's.
there is a lot of like figures, for example, that still keep good articulation in Jakks and still like look amazing. Take Metal Sonic, for instance. He looks literally exactly on model while having extra like arm and leg articulation that, like, let's say regular.
I think an even better example would actually be Rouge, because Rouge has so much extra articulation than the other characters because her elbows are perfect hidden by those cuffs. She can get away with that. And I even think of her leg articulation, even if she can't bend her knees as well. I mean, it's still pretty darn good compared to what you see with Sonic when he bends his knee. You got this shard of plastic.
With that example, I'd say then Chaos is better as an example. Chaos has
For sure. I think
way
Chaos is a
more
really good one, too.
articulation.
more articulation,
in addition,
but hidden on Rouge. That's the whole point. Like, on the robots, like Sonic, Mecha, Sonic, Omega, the articulation is hidden very well because they're robots. They have those joints naturally. On a character like Chaos, it's still there. It's still apparent. You can see it. But when Rouge has the figure, he has almost far better than their abilities on it.
Going back to the future of, the line and everything, I think we are in safe territory because we're now getting figures from Altered Beast, Streets of Rage, Monkey Ball. So Jakks and Sega are like solidifying their relationship here. And that also shows how much Jakks actually does care about the adult collectors. Because no kid is going to go buy an Altered Beast or Streets of Rage.
I think a problem with if they do lose a license is the whole thing where them having to re-release the same figures with a new line, a different style, but
I think
it's
that's
the
what we all
same
dread, isn't it?
I know it's like needed. They not release a Sonic in the first wave.
Take for instance,
Is this the Kirby podcast?
yeah.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. Okay, I'm not gonna play
No, this is a Wendy's. Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, okay.
That was
So we're talking about like the future of Jakks Pacific. I think it's a good time to
Jakks
talk
doesn't make
about.
Kirby. Jakks doesn't make Kirby though.
We're not talking about Kirby. I mean, it would be cool.
This isn't the Kirby podcast.
This is not the Kirby podcast.
This is not Kirby. This is absolutely.
Oh, my bad. Whoops. Sorry about that, everyone.
I didn't invite you. Who are you?
Everyone talking about your
Drop
Sonic.
in the middle of the podcast. That's crazy.
So it's a big job.
Alright, because you have joined, I am going to legally need your channel so I can put you in credits. So.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Pega Chow. That's my channel on YouTube.com.
Thank you for this cameo.
Okay, I make the Kirby video. Alright, bye everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, back on what figures do you want to see Jakks make? I'm going to start off, and my most wanted figure is definitely Dreamerol. I don't know why, I love Dreamerol.
No, Dreamerol is nothing. We need Neo Metal Sonic, immediately.
Neo Sonic would be pretty cool.
Realistically, he's had more of a presence than ever before since, suddenly that Sonic Heroes is getting leaked, the remake, right? We've had a generation of It's been leaked. It's been leaked. We're getting a Heroes remake.
There's a leaked Sonic Heroes remake every other year. There's a leaked Adventure remake every other year. There's always leaked remakes of these games.
But he also appeared in the IDW comics somewhat. Well, not really recently, but recently enough for it to be relevant.
Even though I'm saying they're not a leak for a Heroes game or whatever. That doesn't mean that I don't think Neo Metal Sonic is possible. I don't believe there are. I think it's easier to say which characters are off the table for Jakks than which ones are possible, because they just gave us Metal Sonic 3.0. And as much as people want to say that, it's just the repaint, it's a robot so it appeals to little boys, that is completely irrelevant.
We also got heavies, for example. The heavies are just unique molds that Mania don't really have relevance.
But think about them. They still came out in one of the most popular, if not the most popular Sonic game in years. And it's 2017 is not that far back, but they just appreciate Metal 3.0 for just a second. He's in a sequel to an obscure, what do you call that, side spin-off game on a PlayStation Portable only. That is the most obscure that you can really get without going crazy.
Hold up. I'll be the first to say he did also appear in that weird Roblox Sonic game.
Yes, he was also in Speed Simulator, but
I think that helped.
I don't think you need to. Exactly. Does that help? Did Mephiles get in because he was in Force's Speed Battle? So it's hard to say who really can. But I think almost any anthropomorphic character that's not an Archie exclusive, tied in that stuff.
Mephiles had a presence in terms of merch before even the figure, because
I wouldn't call a skateboard deck.
I think Gene
listen.
Great Eastern released
Great Eastern. They released a plush of Mephiles a few months before Jakks announced their figure.
Right. But I don't think that counts as having a presence. It's like a plush.
To be honest.
That's exactly what I meant. I'm saying I think it definitely helped balance out what Mephiles got released, for example, right? Because if one company had the reason to do it, why can't the other, kind of thing?
Yeah, but the whole point of that would be why did GE release it? No one released it before GE. Or if you want to say Finesse did with their skate deck, then why did Finesse do it? No one did it before them. So I think you can always point fingers until the fact is this is a character from 2006, almost 20 years ago, getting merch right now. Almost anything is possible. Your Neo Metal Sonics, your Mecha Sonic Mark IIs. I think the character Chris Thorndike, he's not going to be getting a Jakks figure anytime soon. I would even say with the weird stuff going on with Sonic Chronicles, I think we can rule out Shade and all of the characters from Chronicles. But Marine the Raccoon, Johnny, Captain Whisker from Rush Adventure, I completely see them as possibilities. Characters from...
when are we getting Pen Panda's figure?
I'll be completely...
But you said Gemerald. I think Gemerald has a possibility. I think Emerald from Battle has a possibility.
I think because of the IDW comic specifically, Gemerald has more of a presence in terms of media than he ever has.
That's fair. That's fair to say.
He was also in Sonic Prime.
We do have we have a chance to get
That's how you knew it's
Sonic from Sonic Movie 3. In there we might get a Soap Shoe Sonic figure if they ever do that.
I mean,
She's forgotten by St.
They
Peter.
somehow give movie Sonic Sonic Soap Shoes figure. Yes, that's a very fair point.
Something that I think is very prominent when talking about what future figures Jakks will make is that something I've always thought about is Jazzwares. They made comic book packs. Tomy, they also made comic book packs.
Yeah.
How do you expect comic book packs from Jakks?
Maybe for IDW. Maybe Tangle Whisper in the first issue.
But you've got to consider not only Tangle Whisper, but the entirety of Sonic IDW is pretty popular right now in the sense that I don't think Sonic has had a better comic line. Don't quote me on that. But I think comic book packs with 2.5 inch figures could do really well. It just goes down to does the general kid read comics?
Right. Well, you also have to think. There's another aspect to this too. If you notice with Jakks, they rarely are putting out brand new lines. I don't know how to explain this, but basically, there's a peg on the shelf for 4 inch. There's a peg on the shelf for 2.5. They're not really adding many other unique, weird things like comic book packs, because that's an entire new space on the shelf that they have to pay for. It's a new, new PC or whatever it is, and they have to get all that together, and that's a lot of extra work for a comic book pack that wouldn't do that well relatively to the amount of work.
What we mentioned earlier with multiple lines, I think another comic pack line would just get things a bit too much.
I honestly, the fact here is, if you want your Whisper and Tangle, more likely than not, they're going to show up as 4-inch figure. And one way to just Sonic and a Whisper and then classic.
A Wisp gun, and Tangle will come with a post or something, a light post.
Get your attention really quick. Guys, my lunch break is over. I gotta go. Really quickly, the figures I want to see the most are Manic, Sonia, Scratch and Grounder. But it's been great.
Scratch and Grounder is never going to happen, I'm sorry.
Sonic Toast, big thanks for joining. You're a legend.
Pleasure to have you.
You're a legend in space, and it was truly an honour for you to join us today, so thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me. Alright, y'all stay safe, take care. Bye.
But yeah, so as far as the figures that I want, I think some of the figures that I want the most are some of the most mundane right now, and that is, I would really love to see Wave and Storm in the 4-inch, just because it would be a tragedy if something happened, Jakks loses the license, gives up the license, and we only have Jet. So I would love those two.
I want Riders versions of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles as well as Wave and Storm. I want the Riders versions.
True. They would be nice, especially I would love those as a re-release in a way.
I want them to do
not
Forge
having
Dr. Deep.
and a Forge Dr. Deep.
Forge Dr. D. Oh no.
Maybe like
Where's the baby? There's no baby figure. I want baby Eggman figure.
I'm saying
Battle would go hard.
I'm so
Dr. Battle would be amazing.
I think
Pack of all the
you know the Eggman that would make the most sense as a 4-inch figure.
What?
It's got to be that old one because he's already shot from being fucking crippled.
We've got Metal Sonic 3.0. We definitely can't rule out now.
Where is even Metal Sonic 3.0 from? Where is he from?
Sonic Rivals 2.
Sonic Rivals 2. Sonic Rivals is almost a racing game, but not quite. It's more of a platform game with racing stuff, and it was exclusive to PSP.
We definitely can't rule out though. Dr. Eggman, the Eggman from
Where's
Sonic.
again Eggman Nega?
Yeah, that's the guy.
Oh, Eggman Neg.
I just want to see the title on the packaging. It looks so goofy.
I mean, for the same reasons, like we're also missing out. Let's say Burning Blaze, right? I
think if they were to release
regular
Eggman, yeah, I think they'd probably have to change the title to Alternative Eggman, considering they'd probably get like a players.
No, it's not like he's actually N-word.
I know, but it kind of sounds like it. I think just for safety reasons.
No racism here.
It's supposed to lie. Yeah.
Just call him Dr. Eggman Negative.
Yeah, Eggman Negative, yeah.
Hey, fair enough. There we go.
That's what I call him.
But he's not. At the end of the day, he's Eggman Nega. There's nothing wrong with saying his name because you don't make anything more of it than you have to. It's Eggman Nega. He is a negative version, sure, but there's a meaning to that word, and you don't need to assign some other weird meaning to it because you want to be cringe or whatever. He's Eggman Nega, and yes, Jakks could make a figure of him, and they'll put it on the box too.
Then again, though, I don't think
nothing controversial about it.
Then again, though, like, the thing is, when Jakks often does do, like, variants of certain characters, they don't really put it on, like, the packaging. Like, for example, Laughing Classic Sonic.
Hold on one gosh darn minute. Are you telling me that you think that Eggman Nega is a variant of Eggman? Sir, how dare you?
It's like the same thing. No. It's like putting Metal Sonic 3.0 and putting Metal Sonic on the
next to me.
Look,
I would forgive you. If you wanted to call Metal 3.0 a variant of Metal Sonic, there's some evidence there because at least he's an exact repaint of the Metal Sonic model. But even then, they put his name on the box. Eggman Nega has a completely different design than Eggman. Different clothes, different mustache style, different goggles. Everything's different about him, other than his first part of his name is Eggman. He is different. He is not a variant, and they would put that on the box.
Fair enough.
Jesus, man.
Yeah, I mean, proper dummy there. Yeah, I don't really.
I mean, there's more to it than that as well.
It's like amazing.
Let's take the Methless figure, right? We got Methless a while back. So what's to say we can't get, like, Gamma and whatnot as well? It's not, like, specifically old games. Like, we can still get characters that just don't particularly, like...
Hell,
that's obviously that age, right?
You know what?
I mean, don't get me wrong, like, Sonic Adventure is still an old game. We're talking about a game that came out in the 90s still, so it is still old. But
it's still the 90s, though.
The Perfect Chaos playset would be
put out Dawnpaw, right? That's a weird character that has come out within the past decade.
They can do a Perfect Chaos playset for Sonic Shadow Generations.
Is it a bad time to mention I want a figure of the character of Zero from Sonic Adventure Amy's story?
No, I would love that. Zero's one of my favorites.
One too.
I just think it would be like a wild card from Jakks, but I think it would be received very well.
Again, Jack, I don't think we can say that.
wild cards before.
Anything is a wild card because they gave us Metal Sonic 3.0. You have yet to move character that's more of a wild card than that.
Then again, I don't think it does wild cards anymore. It's kind of just like the norm to get like.
You know what? I'm about to name a character that is more of a wild card than Metal Sonic 3.0.
Do
Give me
it.
error-played Metal Sonic from Sonic the Fighters right now.
Rocket Metal Sonic. Okay, even that. I'll
I want to pull out even more wild cards.
I have a
Sonya
super wild card.
and Manic.
I'm gonna
Yes.
pull out the biggest wild card.
Yeah. Go for it, Luigi.
And
Pull it up.
Sally's like one of the biggest wild cards ever. We're never gonna get another piece of Sally
yeah, we ain't getting Sally, but unless they reintroduce her to different characters, we
Sally's
ain't
not
getting
a wild card because
I
Sally's
think-
a very prominent character. She's unlikely, but not a wild card. It would be wild if she got a figure, but not because she's as obscure and weird as Metal 3.0. Most people know who Sally is, and most people have no idea what Metal 3.0
I mean-
what game he's in it.
Look, I don't think Jakks really want a lawsuit on their hands. You know what?
Again, yes.
I mean,
I'm
no.
saying he's not unlikely.
Listen,
I think,
Sally everyone.
listen. I think if you're gonna make the argument for Sally, she's kind of been reintroduced in IDW as Lanolan the Sheep. If you
No, I
want
don't think-
Sally, we're probably gonna get Lanolan first, realistically.
Again, yes, because there's no way we're getting Sally. Like, she's a dead character.
I don't think Ken Bambers would try to lawsuit them. I think he wouldn't win anyway.
Ken Penders out of the equation, too. Even then, they're not doing Sally. She's not a character.
You know what?
Okay, the writer of Sonic X. Do you think the writer of Sonic X would sue Jakks if they made a Chris Thorndike figure? No, but he's just as unlikely as Sally. He's completely irrelevant
I don't want a Chris
to an
Thorndike
extreme.
figure, actually.
Like, wouldn't like the Gun Commander be like a realistic figure, but kind of realistic in the sense that they are like semi-popular, but of course they're going to get more popular by the third film's release.
Honestly, Maria is more likely.
Yeah, I would say Maria would be more likely than Gun Commander.
Maybe Flight Mimi 3. I don't know how.
I'm not saying that Jakks would never do a Gun Commander, but there are so many other, even more obscure characters.
I think they've kind of done all the main characters, to be honest.
Waves and
Yeah,
Storm.
like
They might have to lean into more obscure characters.
Well, they are leaning into more obscure characters. When was the last time they did like an actual like main character? You'd think of like
Chaos.
Blaze. Chaos, like Chaos is exactly like he's
Chaos is not that
main
bad.
character.
I guess you
You're
could
right,
say
like-
he's kind of main, but like,
And we can't talk about Blaze and Cream like they're these super main characters. Cream had been irrelevant for almost 2 decades.
It's not crazy.
Sonic Generations.
Yeah, but the thing is, before you bring Dream, listen. Before you bring Dream Team into the equation, do you remember that the Cream figure did come out before Dream Team?
Exactly.
I don't think it's a very fair argument to use.
You cannot say a cameo appearance in Generations is bringing a character back into relevancy. Now, a playable and main role in Dream Team, that absolutely helps. And the fact that she's going to be in Toys Party or Toy Party, whatever, that's really great too. But
Sonic
Cream
Toys
getting a
Party
figure is not like this given that everyone thought it was. Blaze even getting a figure. People love Blaze, but whenever they say that she's part of the main cast, that always baffles me because how can you say that a character who is playable like 3 or 4 times over a decade ago is part of the main
You can't
cast?
compare Blaze to like the likes of Shadow or Sonic. Like Shadow
You
is
can't make the
popular,
same
right?
argument though of like Shadow not being playable for a while with
Even if he's not playable, he is very prevalent in all sorts of media.
Actually, no, my
Movie.
Sonic Forces. My fault.
Yeah, I mean, he's in Sonic Forces, and yet technically playable in Forces.
I mean, he is the DLC.
Yeah, but technically playable. He has a role in
Getting
almost
games
everything.
as well, so
Well, no,
part of the game.
Yeah.
He's going to be in Shadow at Sonic Generation.
that's a little
Yeah.
topic too.
Right.
But
We might get a Super Shadow re-release during that. I don't know.
you
Does
can't
anyone
doubt
have-
Shadow's prominency in the franchise is main character. He's on a completely different tier than Blaze being
Shadow might go.
Rouge.
Yeah, like you didn't see Blaze in Sonic Prime, but you saw Shadow in
No.
Sonic Prime.
And he
Same
played a
argument.
big role. And Rouge is definitely making her way up there. She's becoming almost a tier of her own, right below the main
Yeah.
characters.
And we need to talk about Amy, bro. I think she might get more variation.
I think after that weird love triangle between the Prime Amy's, I don't really want anything to do with Amy for a while.
Oh, come on, bro. It was kind of nice.
Does anyone have any topics that they want talk about? Because I
movie things, I guess.
If you could pick your own like playset to make, what would you pick?
Sonic
Chaos.
Shadow Motorcycle.
I mean, yeah, like I'm a huge adventure fan, so I would love anything like what Luigi mentioned, like a perfect chaos playset, egg carrier playset, like that would be so cool. Well, I take a Bio Lizard or Arc playset, something neat like that. I would love, but I mean, honestly, Jakks. To just be honest here, Jakks has really not done the best with their playsets. They're flat. They're kind of boring.
Kind of a deep.
Love the Death Egg Robot.
That's the thing, Luigi. I will agree with you. The Angel's Voyage is probably one of the best. I mean, look at the Death Egg Robot. It's nice. It is. That is $40, the same price as the Angel's Voyage, and the Angel's Voyage is one of the most magnificent products Jakks put out.
Yeah, Knuckles Pirate.
Knuckles Pirate. But I would love an egg carrier to the degree that Angel's Voyage went. I'd pay $40 for that easily, but I realistically am not getting that. I would too. But I think the thing is, I would prefer Jakks to like give us whatever you want for the playsets, dioramas, whatever makes you happy. We've been getting some pretty cool stuff. Go for it. My main focus is getting as many of these weird, obscure characters in the 4-inch and 2.5-inch line as possible. Things like 2.5-inch wisps. Why are there no 2.5-inch wisps? Why did they stop with only 3 Chow? You know, let's get a Badnik, Wisp, and Chow every other wave or whatever. It would be magnificent.
I'm going to read the one. I think Chow. I think like the Chow figures. I don't really collect them.
Well, that's fine, but it's that they could easily.
Well, not for everyone. Like.
For me,
like we've got Dark Chow, for example. That's insane if you think about it. Like that doesn't really appear.
Dark Chow figure. Well, technically, yeah, he's the first. Sorry, I was thinking of the Funko Pop Shadow holding a Dark Chow, but it's a different type. But yeah, like Chow would be a very easy thing for them to do. They're smaller. They're like, especially like so many repaints you can do with them.
Like, and I Tommy did a Chow
figure. Okay, but that's not the. That is not the praise you think it is. But yeah,
I guess.
Tommy did.
I guess.
Yeah. Chow
I'm just like an example of it being easy to make.
And then also, I think we need to take advantage of, again, like the 2.5-inch line. It's good and all that they're doing 2.5-inch Vector and Egg Robo, whoop-de-doo. But wouldn't you think it'd be so much better if they focused on things like 2.5-inch Cheese, 2.5-inch Froggy, 2.5-inch Chip? Like, I hate Chip with a passion. I won't get into that. But I would absolutely love for them to do a 2.5-inch figure of him. It would make sense with the scale.
I feel like they're not going to make it.
While you mention Cheese, people might remember this, but there was a while, I'm talking a while ago, where on the back of the base Chow box, some of them did say Cheese the Chow.
Yeah, but also, I'm not 100% sure, but didn't the plush just call it, like, Chow?
No,
am I wrong on that one?
The plush is quite literally cheese.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think I don't know how much we can read into the back of the boxes because for a while Tails said crab meat, and I don't think any of us here think that Tails is crab meat.
No, I think Tails is crab meat.
Okay,
what do you mean?
Corrected. But that's the thing. Like they could do a cheese. I mean, it's just slapping a bow tie on the existing 2.5-inch Chow. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I just don't know why they haven't done it yet, especially because they re-released Chow at the exact same time that the Cream Wave came out. So could have done that. But that's the kind of stuff I'd love to see from Jakks. More focus on like weird stuff with the 2.5-inch to supplement 4-inch. Classic characters. We're getting Fang. Let's see Bark. Let's see Beam. Let's see some of these weird.
I don't think this possibility is very, very low. But a Hypersonic figure would go so hard.
Sure, that's the other thing. You know, you mentioned the Soap Shoe Sonic and the Black Knight Sonic. I would love to see more of a variety for the Sonic and the Wave. It's cool that we got Smiling Sonic, Frowning Sonic, Grinning Sonic, Angry Sonic. Let's start getting a little bit more of a variety with that. We've gotten our normal Sonic, Super Sonic, Classic, and Classic Super out of the way. Let's see some... Werehog. Werehog could be the Sonic of the Wave, I think, perfectly.
I feel like Werehog is kind of a stretch.
I know it's a stretch.
Not really.
I know
It's
we're
not really a
stretch.
stretch considering got Mephiles, and I don't think it's that much of a stretch.
Yeah, we
So-
got that.
Now, again, Warthog being the Sonic of the Wave, I will take the criticism on that and say that is absolutely a stretch. But there's a lot of fun things they could do with the Sonic of the Wave. You mentioned Hypersonic. I want to see Darkstein Sonic as the Sonic of the Wave. I know it's weird, but they could do it.
They could,
Okay,
yeah.
that's on the level of Chris Thorndike, but sure, do it. Whatever it takes. Any
I
sort
don't
of
think
variety.
it's very much on the
Sonic
same
of the
level.
Wave is appreciated.
So, I do have to go now, so I may need to cut this off. So, I do.
Fine.
I do just quickly want to thank everyone who's spoke, who's joined.
I'm not thankful.
It's appreciated that you've.
It's not
would want to
Thanksgiving. We don't do Thanksgiving.
I would also like to thank anyone who's listening in and has made it this far, because Jesus Christ, is your sanity okay?
I'm
Yeah.
Sonic Generations.
Definitely thank you for doing this. This has been the highlight of the week so far, I think.
We need more silvers.
So, do any of you want
I need
to?
a silver re-release. My silver's nose broke off.
I don't have the silver yet. All my silver's sold out. Hear me.
So, just quickly,
is a good game.
do any of you want to say any closing thoughts?
Jack should
definitely
make
like
it
to talk to all of you.
Hypersonic. I'm sorry, guys.
Wait,
No,
I'm never gonna figure it.
Okay.
I'm gonna